Bob Melvin was just on with us. Let's go through some of it, man. I'd love to hear what you think about some of it. Now, again, the Matos thing. What'd you think of this answer? We asked him about sending Matos down and what the plan is for him coming back, because I've been very, very vocal that I'm like, I think he's coming back quickly. I didn't necessarily get that vibe on this answer. Did you? No.
Look, Luis Matos is going to have a long career for us, and I don't know where we'd be without him. For that period of time, he was player of the week. He was as hot as anybody in baseball, and it was huge for us. So he's a part of this team right now, even though he's not here. You got to make some tough decisions sometimes. He slowed down a little bit, obviously. He can get a little swing happy at times. You know, that the key for him is going to be able to shrink the zone, draw some walks, and get good pitches to hit. But he's a terrific talent, and he's going to be a Giant for a long time. You know, it's a little unfair with Slate early on, not getting a ton of at-bats and being, not being healthy and so forth, getting off to a slow start. And then when, Luis has such a big couple weeks, there's some tough decisions need to be made. But Slate's been a Giant here for a while now, knows his role, knows his niche, and starting to get some better at bats. So sometimes it isn't always perfect, and sometimes we understand that what Luis created and what he did was exciting. But again, he's going to be back here at some point in time, and like I said, he's going to be a Giant for a long time. He's
going to be back here at some point in time. I just be straight with you, brother. That's not what I wanted to hear. I know he's not going to say he's going to be back on Tuesday.
He can't say that.
I know he can't say that, but
based on need,
I firmly believe that when Nick Ahmed is activated, I think Luis Matos should come back up too.
No, you got to get rid of one of your shortstops when Nick Ahmed comes back.
Well,
so Casey Schmidt's the logical choice to go down. And Matos will get called up when he's going to be able to play, not sit on the bench and play once every 4 or 5 days.
That's fair.
So if Slater's doing his thing against lefties and everyone's doing their thing and Ramos keeps raking, it might be a minute.
Well,
as much as we don't want to hear that, it might be a minute.
The Ramos thing is actually, to me, a little bit more significant than the Slater thing. Slater is there to maybe man a corner outfield spot against a tough lefty, so Yaz or Conforto doesn't play. That's Slater's role. We thought Luis Matos' role was to be the new center fielder because Jung-Hoo Lee's hurt. But is Ramos going to take that over now? Is he your center fielder the rest of the year?
He's getting better jumps. He's faster than Luis Matos.
Yep.
Luis Matos was built to be the speed guy, and his speed for me, for a Major League center fielder, is very average. Maybe a tick below average for a Major League center fielder. Ramos is faster than Matos.
Mm-hmm.
And he's bigger.
Yep.
He's got more power. He's commanding the strike zone way better than Luis was at the end. But I don't know.
You're 100% right.
I like the kid. He's got a great vibe. He plays the game the right way. He was getting a little swing happy. And sometimes once you get swing happy, that's a hard thing to put in reverse. But I feel like developing winning championship players, I know I sound like a broken record, is they got to fight through that. They got to figure out how to solve that wordle, whatever it is. They got to figure it out.
Okay. So I think you just said a lot right there. Let's dive into this. Spend a minute on this.
Okay.
Because I do think a lot of people are very, very interested in this. 888-957-9570. And it's a great day to do this, quite frankly, because I think a lot of you are going to have a harder time today on Tuesday, June 11th. You're going to have a harder time flicking Austin Slater the way that many of you have in this discussion to this point, because he won a baseball game last night. And actually, as Bomel pointed out, he was instrumental in the 3-1 win in Texas over the weekend.
Yeah.
Since he got activated, they've been pretty good. We got a text an hour ago that says Slater has never produced ever since he's been on the Giants. Isn't that a fascinating psychological test that we can run? Austin Slater has never produced since being a Giant. I'm looking at his baseball reference page. In fact, this year's the first year he's not produced. That's the fact, Jack. But for some reason, he has triggered people solely because of 40 poor at-bats and I think being the representative of not Luis Matos.
Also, the representative of the IL a lot.
Okay.
Which can be frustrating for a fan.
And representative of platoons.
Yeah.
Which fans are down on.
Right.
So I understand all of it, But I guess I'd argue if you think Luis Matos, because I thought you just said something real important. If Ramos is going to be your center fielder, and nobody's out on that right now, what would be your argument for calling Matos back up? To play where?
I don't think he's a major league center fielder.
Okay. So.
I think he's a corner guy.
All right. So are you benching Yaz?
I don't know.
Conforto?
I don't know. Not my job.
DH him for Soler?
That's why he's in Sacramento for a minute. And if there's need, he could be up tomorrow.
Yep.
We're not going to hope for injuries, but the way it's been going. So you got to stay ready. You got to stay mentally focused and mentally charged, whatever it is down there, but that's got to be hard.
Oh, no doubt, but I know you and most people I know were really against the idea of Matos being sent down. So, but then you just said if he's up, he's not going to play every day.
He's got to play.
Okay.
That's part of the development is working through slumps to become a championship player. Part of the development with my biggest pet peeve with the last coaching staff is how am I going to learn how to be a championship player if I don't get at bats in championship innings? And that's 7, 8, 9. Those are the championship innings.
Yep.
So if I'm not going to contribute the bases loaded sac fly or the knock up the middle to score 2 runs to give us the lead in the 8th, and then Camilo comes in and seals it, like how am I ever going to learn how to be a championship player if I'm looking over my shoulder and I'm going to get pinch hit for all the time? Whether it's my 4th year in the big leagues or my 1st year in the big leagues or my 10th year in the big leagues, like the goal here is to have a parade and screw the Dodgers and screw every other good team in the big leagues. Like you're the San Francisco freaking Giants. And the goal is to win a world championship. And the goal is to develop winning players and championship players. And if you're coming off the bench in 7, 8, and 9, and you're not in the flow of the game, that's a hard ask. But if you're in the flow of the game and you're a young kid and all of a sudden the carpet's getting yanked out from underneath you and you don't get a chance to get that big hit in the 8th or 9th, how are you going to develop? If you go 1 for 20, how are you going to develop to get out of that? The mental toughness, the work ethic. Sometimes guys overwork. Their back gets heavier. It's like there's a donut on it, and they get mental, and they're swinging too much, and they bury the slump even deeper. And there's ways you navigate, negotiate mentally, physically through slumps to come out on the other side to be a mentally tough player and to be an experienced player and to be a championship/winning player. And if every time as a young player you get sent back to Sacramento, like if Robbie Thompson got sent down every time he went 1 for 20, I know it's a different age. Or Will Clark, or you think of all the Buster Posey, I'm sure had struggles his rookie year here and there. So if those guys are going up and down, the mental side of baseball to me is as high as any sport there is. Golf, you could make an argument, but like the mental side of baseball is huge. And so if you're tinkering with the framework of your mindset, and you're worried about this and you're worried about that, and you don't know how to negotiate or navigate through a tough time, and you never get that at bat in the championship innings, what I'm talking about. How do you become a championship player? And then take it a step further, how do you become a champion as an organization? These are things I think you have to let players figure out.
Okay.
Regularly, without sacrificing the good of the cause.
So
we're losing games because of you.
But let me ask you a question, because I can acknowledge everything you're saying, but I really want to ask you this question. Do you still think he should be up?
If he's going to play center field or outfield every day and get his at-bats, yes.
Do you think he should play center field every day right now?
I think he has a lot to work on defensively in center field. As a former center fielder, yes.
I mean,
his jumps, his stance, his pre-pitch preparation, his routes, there's a lot that he needs to work on.
Has 7 games of Elliot Ramos changed any of our minds suddenly on this idea that Luis Matos was wronged? Because it feels to me like a lot of people last week were like, this is BS. This is BS. You sent Matos down for Slater. Next thing you know, Ramos catches fire and shows that he can play center field. And now what I'm hearing is Luis can't play every day up here, and he's got a lot to work on as a fielder, so he should be in Sacramento. Where do you think he should be right now?
I would have loved to have seen him have the opportunity to work through his struggles.
Okay. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of all of this. The Slater-Matos thing has sort of low-key become the Matos-Ramos thing, if they're going to play the same position. And I think there are a bunch of ways you can answer this. You could say he should be in SAC working on defense. You could say he should be the right fielder. We're done with Yaz. You could say, hey, there's a corner outfield spot for him at least on most nights, certainly against left-handers. Hell, right now you could pitch me that he should be the DH And they should come up with a phantom injury for Slater. I mean, there's a lot of ways to answer this right now, but it does not feel the same as it did last week for two reasons. Ramos took over center field and looks like a star.
And Slater contributed.
And Austin Slater looks like Austin Slater again.
I'll tell you what, that knock last night,
it was big.
It's going a long way for him. He took a deep breath.
Dude.
He finally feels like he's part of the team this year. Not that, I mean, I can't speak for him, but that's what you feel like as a player when you're struggling or you're on the IL, you don't feel like you're a part of it. Like, what have I done to help us win a game? And you just start beating yourself up. And I think Austin's tough on himself. And now that he's not on the IL, he's on the active roster, he's getting starts, and last night he won a game. So hopefully this snowballs in the right direction for him. Yeah. I never looked at this was a Slater versus Matos thing. I just felt for a young player that was NL Player of the Week one week and then in Sacramento the next.
Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, like, again, here, for those of you who are just popping in, listen to Bomel's answer about sending Matos down.
Look, Luis Matos is going to have a long career for us, and I don't know where we'd be without him. For that period of time, he was Player of the Week. He was as hot as anybody in baseball, and it was huge for us. So he's a part of this team right now, even though he's not here. You got to make some tough decisions sometimes. He slowed down a little bit, obviously. He can get a little swing happy at times. You know, the key for him is going to be able to shrink the zone, draw some walks, and get good pitches to hit. But he's a terrific talent, and he's going to be a Giant for a long time. You know, it's a little unfair with Slate early on, not getting a ton of at-bats and being, not being healthy and so forth, getting off to a slow start. And then when, Luis has such a big couple weeks, there's some tough decisions need to be made. But Slate's been a Giant here for a while now, knows his role, knows his niche, and starting to get some better at bats. So sometimes it isn't always perfect, and sometimes we understand that what Luis created and what he did was exciting. But again, he's going to be back here at some point in time, and like I said, he's going to be a Giant for a long time.
Yeah, I listen. Where I was a week ago on this Matos thing, I stay right here, which is not necessarily, and I don't want this to sound waffling. It's not in support of him being sent down or in support of him staying. My message is this: I don't want to hear about, hey, the Giants aren't any good anyway, let's develop him. That's where I reject this conversation. To me, I want this team to win. I want them to win right now. I still see a path for them to potentially be a good baseball team, especially in the second half of the year. And I want to know who those people are. Now, Matos for a week and a half was absolutely that dude. And then he wasn't. And so I don't think they've got a perfect outfield at all, but Ramos is now in ink, at least for now. Ramos goes nowhere. That's an everyday player. That's a middle-of-the-order guy right now. I am a Michael Conforto fan. He won a game with a home run over the weekend. Yaz is absolutely phenomenal defensively, and he does tie into one every now and again. He's had a couple of home runs on the road trip. He's never going to be a 280 hitter, but I see that value, and both of those guys are left-handed, which factors into the conversation. And I don't think Slater is chopped liver. So does all that add up to Matos should be in sack? Maybe. I don't think that that's a firm point. My only response is anybody who says, look, just go with the bumps and bruises. He's young. Just develop him because we're not going anywhere this year anyway. That's the one that I reject.
I don't agree with that. I might be an idiot, but I think they have a chance to catch the Dodgers when they get healthy and they put all this thing together. They're 8 games back and they've been patching it up. It's been duct tape and baling wire and patch it up, and they're 8 games back of supposedly the greatest team that's ever been assembled. Okay. Just stay right there is what I'm saying. Just stay right there and get healthy, and I want to see what happens.
I don't even think about it in terms of the Dodgers. I just think about it in terms of the playoffs.
I do.
I think this should be and will be a playoff team. It should be. Look at their payroll. Look at their names. They should make the playoffs.
They should. I think they think that too. That's more important. But I'd love to see them just all get healthy and see that lineup get some continuity and some rhythm. And the pitching staff get some rhythm. Where you got 5 starters. It's Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb and Logan Webb. The biggest story that we're not burying it because there's lots of topics today, is that Kyle Harrison pitched for the first time maybe in his short career last night.
I thought it was fantastic.
He pitched.
Yep.
Get me over Slurve. Put me away Slurve at the back knee. 2-1 changeups. 1-1 changeups. Fastball down in the zone with ride to it. I don't know if he dropped down a little bit, but it looked like his release point was a little bit lower to me than normal last night. But whatever he did, the guy evolved. I mean, you had some Altuve and Bregman and Alvarez. There's some good big league hitters in that lineup last night that he made look silly. So yeah, I mean that's the story for me. That's my takeaway from last night, is if he can build on that and keep pitching and be not so macho, which I love that part. But there's a nice balance there.
You'll love who called in.
Who?
This is my very good buddy. He probably called you some too when you were doing night stuff around Giants games. Lauren Gold is on the phone. Do you know Lauren? Lauren, who's the keyboardist for both the Who and for Chicago? Yeah. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
How are you guys doing?
Fantastic, but better now.
All right.
What's cooking, bud?
I came in late to the discussion. I was out golfing, as I do when I'm not playing music.
Every day.
Of course.
What'd you shoot?
I shot 83 with 2 doubles that I'm very upset about.
Look at
this guy. Look
at you, man.
Who's the real big leaguer here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm ready to play with you again anytime.
Keyboardist got good hands, so I mean, you're probably good around the greens. Your short game, I would imagine. That's where you score.
That's it. I'm working. My short game's gotten better for sure. That's really where you start scoring.
Lauren texted me last week about the Matos thing. You were pretty upset. What'd you think? Did you hear Bo Mel's answer to us today?
I heard the replay, and I'm not buying it. He needs to be here. I mean, player of the week. He's the whole team just is lights up. We're on fire. That you see this youth in there. I mean, everyone's electrified. He struggles for 2 weeks and then they send him down. Like he wouldn't work through that. I don't understand. I mean, to me, it's like that has to mess with his head. It's like, what else do I have to do?
Big time.
What else do I have to do? I mean, I swung for 2 weeks. You're going to send me back to effing AAA? No, there's no way. I've brought life into this team along with everybody else. 2 weeks is not it's got to mess with him. I'm sorry.
So whose spot does he take, though, is my question.
So here's a question for you guys, and I could be nuts here, but can he play right?
Sure.
Put Yaz and Slater on the bench. I'm sorry. Put Ramos in center, Conforto in left, and let Matos play right. I know that right field out there is, like nowhere else. But then you have them all out there. The guy can move.
The weird thing to me is they had him leading off, and now he's batting second in Sacramento. Like, I don't think he's going to bat second when he comes back. And
Probably
if you're going to
not.
be a leadoff hitter, there's a certain. I guess there isn't an art to it anymore. You just go up and hack. It's not like the leadoff hitters back in the day, and I understand that, but. Yeah, he's hitting second in Sacramento.
Let's chew on this. Lauren, we got a boogie, bud. Awesome to hear from you. Thank you for calling in, pal.
Of course.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Let's chew on that a little bit. I didn't know what it. So he says yes. Okay, I'm actually more intrigued by the DH idea right now. Should Matos be up here as the DH?
You could DH anybody.
He's got more RBIs than the current DH.
I will say this: there's a certain art to it. I know the guy's struggling so far this year that does it, but there's a certain art to just walking up to the plate 4 times and not having any rhythm. It's just like being at a stop sign or coming out of a movie theater, being at a stop sign, and then you got to hit it. It's just weird. You get in the flow of a game defensively.